Feminine Mistake Podcast. I'm one of your hosts, Nicole, and today I'm joined by
Hillary, Sarah,
and Brandon.
On today's episode, we wrap up our discussion of the 1977 Italian horror film Suspiria, and Hillary joins us to give her thoughts on the film. Let's get into it.
The house is a mess, Jack. The kids are a mess, Jack. You're a mess, Jack.
You have been a total bitch ever since you came to New York.
You seem sort of distant.
Let's just do it, man.
You look stupid and rich. Stupid and rich.
Fascist.
All right, let's get into it.
So your mom is not a metaphysic.
No, she's not.
Hillary just joined us on the show.
Hi.
Welcome.
I'm here now.
Hillary, she's been working on set
I have.
on the Pretty Funny series.
Super hard on the set.
Well,
Working so hard.
and you took your mom to the Mystic store.
I did. I took my mom to
What
Modern
crystals
Mystic
did she buy?
I know she bought Tiger's Eye, and then I can't remember what else she bought, but she bought a couple of other ones too, like for like her mood.
Nice.
Yeah.
That's great.
I'm excited for her.
I'm good. I'm
This
glad
is
for
her
her.
beginning of her journey.
Step into your journey.
I know.
It's a harvest moon.
And I bought a gold candle.
Ooh, for prosperity.
Yes.
Excellent.
And like attractiveness and all these other amazing things. So I'm going to set some intentions tomorrow.
Set your fucking intentions. It's
Take
the
a
full
bath.
moon.
'Cause
Or
I
is it
think
the
you
full
got-
moon?
Did you get me the new moon bath or the full moon bath?
Both of them.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I'm going to use them tomorrow.
Is it a full moon tomorrow?
Yes.
It's the harvest.
Tomorrow's a harvest
Fall harvest moon.
It's either the harvest or the corn moon. I can't remember which it was
corn
this
moon.
year.
Corn
is it
is
corn this year?
Is it
It's-
October? Is that October?
Well, I read a bunch about this last night, but the harvest moon is the one that's closest to the autumnal equinox, and that
That's
could
what-
fall
that's-
in either September or October.
This is the autumn equinox. It
it
was
is?
yesterday. Yeah.
Yesterday.
Oh, okay. Then this would be the harvest moon. But when the harvest moon is in October, the September moon is called the corn moon.
Okay. We don't
So
want
we're in
And
the
then,
corn
like,
moon.
There you
Yeah.
go.
A
And
corny
this is
moon.
how this is astrology with Hillary. Welcome to my podcast.
Welcome to Astrology Talk. So that's an excellent segue into what we were just talking about, which was witches.
The occult.
The occult,
I
as
love-
that old man with the extreme comb over said.
Unfathomably shot from below.
Right.
Yeah. But also there was a shot.
Unfathomable.
There was also a shot just of the back of his head with like a hint of like her face in it.
But it really was accentuating that comb
Yeah.
over, where
Yes. Comb over
it
in
really
the
just
middle.
started
So
at
windy.
it started at the nape of his neck and just
Yeah.
went all the way up.
Why didn't they relocate that conversation anywhere else? Like,
Right.
just pop them
Inside.
inside that building behind them because
Do you
like
think
it
that was
so
real
windy
wind
that
or not?
day.
Because there were a few
There were a couple of takes with no wind though, where
I
the
know.
close-ups,
Yeah, that's
couple of the
true.
close-ups had no wind. They were like, we don't have the time to move it. Just go.
Yeah,
Just
Someone
talk.
get a fan.
We're gonna double it anyway.
Get a
We're
fan.
gonna dub it anyways. We don't care about the audio. Welcome
True.
to the podcast, Hillary.
Thanks.
We're talking
Good to be
about
here.
Suspiria.
We already.
Oh.
Talking
We've-
Suspiria.
I watched the complete wrong movie.
I watched
I'm
movie about an
watching
old
Practical
man.
Magic.
We should talk about that movie. That's a good one too.
No, but we've gone through the plot up to
We wanted
the
to-
death of the blind man.
Yes, we were talking about that.
Okay.
All right, pop in.
I
Pop
gotta
in.
chew.
It's
Okay,
jerk-
that
it's-
text I sent you guys last night,
okay.
where I was so upset.
Was it the
that was
dog?
what I was so upset about? The dog. Why did we
Oh.
have to make the dog a murderer?
Well, I think the dog was bewitched.
Well, obviously.
Yeah, the dog was possessed.
They obviously don't like dogs. They're probably cat people.
They probably are.
Well, speaking of, I was expecting too when they were walking in right before that they were going to come back and say, "Yeah, your dog is dead" or something.
Yeah.
That's what I was
Yeah.
expecting, that they had killed.
I mean, if you
dog.
think
I just
about it,
assumed
it was
they had, yeah.
unexpected. You didn't see it
No,
coming.
I didn't see it coming because also in that moment you're watching them and I'm like, are they flying in on broomsticks? Are they also enormous? Because that shadow was gigantic.
Yes. Yes.
So another thing we wanted to talk about once you arrived was the maggots scene, because
God,
Hillary sent us a
maggots.
text last night. Nothing,
like,
just
all
all
caps
caps.
maggots.
Maggots, because Hillary was watching the film last night.
Maggots. Oh my God. Okay.
So how did how does she see? Oh, she like feels something in her
Well, it's
hair,
like
right?
Sarah first, and Sarah's like flicking something off her shoulder,
Mm-hmm.
and it's like we don't see what it is until we see what's her name
Susie.
combing her hair. Susie is
Yeah.
combing
Yeah.
her hair and like pulls a
Something
maggot
falls
out of
down
her
to
hair.
And then we see them coming
Well,
in various places.
right.
And then on the ceiling.
yeah, they look up and there's just maggots covering the ceiling. I was eating a taco at this point.
Yeah.
And she was like,
I was
And
about to get up and get some dinner.
no,
I
she
had
actually
to put my taco down.
She put it down. She also, we had queso and guacamole out. She closed both of those boxes
I closed
and put
the
them
queso
away.
and guac. I was like, we're done. We're done eating now.
That is so funny.
So they get a big maggot problem, and as you do, they move everybody into the gymnasium. To
Well,
have
they
a,
find that it
they
stems
can't all
from
fit
the attic. There's a box in the attic full of
Inexplicably
Raw
in
meat.
the attic.
In the attic.
well, that's where you store your food for the cafeteria, right? Because it's food that's been shipped to feed the students,
Yeah.
right?
Sure.
everyone knows that
That's where you keep it. Is in the attic. You know, it is the most convenient spot to the kitchen.
but everyone
is the
knows
attic.
that evil witches keep spoiled meat
that
to,
true?
to bewitch things.
Is
Yes.
that why I have
evil
so
witches,
many?
not
Evil, but
right.
not good witches
Wiccans.
who buy.
Is that why I
evil
have so
crystals.
many?
witches.
Although I will
chicken
point out, not
carcasses
all
in my
Wiccans
freezer?
are witches. Not all Wiccans are witches. Not
Yes.
all witches are Wiccans. I've
True.
been
That's
told.
true.
I've
Is
been
this
told.
an ACT
This is
question?
a PSA.
It's a tongue twister,
All
actually.
witches are.
It's just a it's
All
a
I,
fable.
I,
If all
keep, I
witches
keep
are
spoiled
Wiccan-
meat, but mostly out of laziness.
Me too. I also have a lot of chicken carcasses in my freezer.
Gross.
Like a lot. I cleaned out my freezer. And I
So
was like, why do we have
far,
so many?
if anybody's counting, maggots in the attic, spoiled meat, students having nosebleeds and blood coming out of their mouth during class.
Yeah, from tiny lesions.
Several deaths. I feel like this place is going to get a bad Yelp review is where I'm going with this.
Well,
Maybe.
the amount of maggots too that
was
no
the
one
amount.
would have
The
noticed.
sheer
And
volume.
they were like, we just
Sudden.
left it there for a few days. Like, there's no way in a few days there'd be so
Mm-hmm.
many maggots that they would come in through the ceiling on like all of their rooms.
But
It's just the sheer volume of maggots.
well, that then brings to my other
Is
question.
this
which
part
I
of the
had about
witchcraft?
I believe so.
Here, let me just do this question.
Okay.
because We're talking about witches, and we haven't
Sure.
talked about the
Or as the Goblin
the-
soundtrack calls it, witches.
why can't I remember
Directress?
the directress. But
Witches.
okay, so after the maggots, like you said, they move everybody down into the gymnasium.
Sure.
Which again, referencing other movies, made me think of *Handmaid's Tale*, where they're all in
Yeah.
one large room.
Okay.
Yeah.
And they put all these sheets up.
Haven't watched *Handmaid's Tale*. Too realistic.
And
Yeah, no.
I know.
you know,
I
but
can't finish
Honestly,
it.
it was very reminiscent. Like the staging of it was very similar to the staging of this. I mean, down to the sheets and the clinicalness and like the weird arrangement of the beds. Like it was very,
on, the, on
very
the cots.
similar.
But my question was kind of like, okay, so after the maggots, everyone that's on that floor, I guess what it is they're moved down to the room, including the directress.
The directress.
And this is where we talk about. And now, granted, what I
Who
say,
is-
you know,
a filthy snoring motherfucker.
She,
Just-
she
well, my
she needs her
She needs a
CPAP
CPAP.
machine.
This is when
She obviously has sleep apnea.
Sarah hears the sound and then tells Susie the story of one night in her room.
Yeah.
She heard someone sleeping in the room next to her and had that same wheezing snore, and she was like, "That's the directress."
but it's just you just think she's this this very old woman who you don't
Right.
see.
Yeah.
But why are we supposed to be scared of the directress again?
We're
by
not in
that-
that
by that
moment.
point-
We don't know.
We're not.
We don't know.
Why
I-
is Sarah?
I'm
That's
going to
the
be
thing that
honest.
makes
I
me so
don't know what a
uncomfortable.
directress is.
I think it's like the headmistress.
Okay. So then
Is
what's
what
the
I
other
kinda
lady
thought.
with the pearls? What's her job then?
I think she's like
running,
vice principal.
You know, she's
Okay,
running it in
okay,
the absence
okay,
of her. But I was like, okay, she owns the school. There are no other rooms for her to stay in. That they're going to put her right
In the
next to where in
gymnasium?
the
It seems
gymnasium,
weird.
right on the other side of where all the other
Makes no
girls are.
sense.
This is one of those plot holes where I was kind of like, for
Maybe
this-
she's just there to suck off of
what I
Susie's
was
life force.
wondering.
And that's what I was
Yes.
wondering. Is that what this?
Because I think that's
who
why they were
uses
giving her
these-
that wine and like making her sleep and stuff too.
Well, they were
like,
obviously, I feel like, drugging her food
Yeah.
and stuff to keep her from figuring anything. They were like, this one's too smart.
Yeah.
We're going to need to knock her out
That
at
was
night.
also not wine.
It was NyQuil, I think.
That was just like
It looked like
Oh,
NyQuil to
the
me.
red stuff.
Yeah.
yes, that
Yeah.
was not wine.
Yeah.
No. And she didn't do a very good job of cleaning up.
No,
on
she
the
didn't.
set.
I
Why
mentioned
didn't
that
she
to
flush
Nicole.
it? Why
I
didn't she
was like,
flush
are you
it?
gonna finish cleaning it?
You know what was one of the most horrifying moments in this movie for me was her dumping that food in the toilet and the splashing.
She was like,
I was like, Sarah, I'm gonna barf.
I was like, she's gonna clog the pipes. You're gonna have to
With
call a
that
plumber. They're gonna know.
bland white fish that was just
know.
flopping
Was
around
that
in that
fish?
toilet.
What was it? I thought it was
Gross.
a giant pickle.
Gross.
It's like, this is disgusting. What are they feeding her? I would not eat this either.
No.
I probably would eat that. I eat everything.
NyQuil and pickles and white fish.
Cherry flavored NyQuil at that.
oh my god.
So what eventually then we have this like scene in the pool where she's talking to Sarah, which seems like a really weird place to they're like, let's have them do this this expositional scene in a giant pool.
And just watch them swim.
Very dark.
But you want to know what I did think in that moment was this could have easily been a moment to sexualize them too, like most modern horror films would have done. They would have had that opportunity to have them like sexy and splashing each other in the pool, and that's not where this went.
No, they
so
didn't.
I was honestly like, all right, this is a weird location, but I feel like a lot of these choices are just like, look at how gorgeous this room
Look at
is.
this amazing
I don't
pool
know.
room.
I was mesmerized by Susie's legs
Yeah,
treading
yeah.
water. I was like, ooh.
It was very like enchanting. It was
Yeah.
very like soothing to watch.
I
Yeah.
kind of learned that's how you tread water. Because I realized, I was like, oh, you do your arms down in a pat. You don't do
So
them
you
near the
learned
top.
some swimming lessons.
I was like, because I could never tread water.
Okay.
And then I watched it and was like, oh, that's how you do your arm. Okay. Oh, I'm watching the story. You know, let me get back to what they're talking about.
Do you
But
think they
just
went
that
in there to
scene.
talk because they wouldn't be heard by other people?
It seems like a
Yes.
really
It seems foolish.
echoey
Oh.
place.
I
It
think
seems very
so,
echoey, yeah.
because there were two other girls that walked past the pool before they got in the water, before she could tell her. But again, it's not like there were a lot of other people that they, you know.
Well, what we find out in the pool is that the girl who was murdered in the first scene had been taking some information down about the school, and she had a lot of notes, and she seemed to think there was something going on at the school, and she'd given all her notes to Sarah, and Sarah said she would tell Susie, we've been calling her Susie Cream Cheese, that she would tell Susie Cream Cheese about it later. And that's what happened in the pool.
Yeah.
And then one night, Sarah took her own notes
About the
on
footsteps.
Yes, the footsteps.
Still don't understand the logic of that, but you know,
Yeah.
not fully understanding how that counting footsteps things works. If you have to turn corners,
Yeah. I think I don't know.
I don't understand the geography of this
Giant
place.
pothole.
First of all,
I don't either. How long is it? It's a long
I
building.
don't know.
And you can hear you can hear
From
those
that one
footsteps.
bedroom. Yeah.
Well, there's one night before. So Susie, we alluded to this, but Susie eventually stops eating the food. She throws it away. But before she does that, she passes out early. And Sarah, I'm trying to keep track of all these fucking ladies' names. She wants to show her the paper with the footsteps stuff on it. And she's trying to talk to her about the notes, and Susie's
Well,
passing
she's telling
out.
her that all the notes are gone.
Oh, that's
They
right.
found her notes
Somebody-
and they're all
And
gone.
after
and she's,
the pool
and
scene.
she's like, "This is
Because
the
that's-
one note because I carried it with me. I have to show you this note." And Susie passes out.
Yeah, and it's after this.
And that's
that
why you
Susie
don't
stopped eating.
have the conversation that's that
In the
important in the
pool.
very echoey pool room. That's why.
And then we see on the, I don't know what it's called, the windows above the door. We see
Oh,
a
it's,
light come on
Yes.
in the next
It's their,
room.
it's their
Transom?
room. Yeah.
Transom, yeah. The light
and
comes
it's
on,
the room-
I know
and
that.
Sarah's
Oh,
like,
no.
"Fuck
What is
no."
transom? Jeopardy.
Right?
She's like, "Fuck no," and she like leaves. And I'm like, I wouldn't leave the room. Like you're
I
gonna.
would. That's her bedroom that the lights came on in. That was the
Right.
room
Really?
to her
She
bedroom.
figured
they were
because
coming for her at
They
that
had like a
point.
connecting door.
Yeah.
Okay.
That came into each of
and
their
then the
bedrooms.
green lights come in.
Yeah.
Yes.
Well,
and then the
I'm
red
like,
lights too.
but
like
we all have seen horror films, and we know that if someone's running away, they're actually running towards death.
Mm-hmm.
So I was like, oh, she's gonna die. Like this is the death scene.
Who keeps a room full of barbed wire is my first thing.
Okay,
Witches!
that's where I keep
who
my
also
barbed wire.
doesn't look where they're leaping onto. She literally just was like,
She was like,
looked behind her and
"Whoops."
was like, okay, cool, and then leapt into a pile of
I
razor
would
wire.
never think of that. I would never think. I probably wouldn't. If I was running
wouldn't
away from
look
someone,
where you were
I
falling.
might in that moment, I might not.
I definitely would.
I would
and I
definitely
certainly
look.
wouldn't thrash around
No.
After being
in a pile of razor wire. Like, I mean, to be honest with you, I don't know how I would react in that moment.
Think some things through.
Maybe
yourself out.
gently stand up. Because the wire is like about 2 feet deep.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
So maybe gently stand up, take the hit on your ankles,
Yes.
and just get yourself out of there.
Yeah, let your really calloused dancer feet take the brunt of the razor wire.
What's interesting is that we all knew it was razor wire, and yet we didn't see any little spikes.
Well, you see her
Yeah,
getting
getting cut up. Yeah.
Yeah.
But and this follows again what we were talking about with the instructor and the dog of how when she ran into that room before she jumped out of the window and the guy murder hand, who was it? What do we call them?
murder hands.
Oh, is that what we're calling it?
Assassin.
Money
Murder
assassin.
hand.
We're calling the murderer murder hands.
had,
Murder hands.
had
Okay, good.
stolen, I guess, a razor, and then she runs into the room and locks the door, and then
And murder
he
hands
ever
is
so
just
slowly tries to lift,
slowest.
and
And
then
she's
she
like-
slows down to go like, oh, I'm gonna put this trunk
And then
here
she
and this.
expertly stacks them smallest to largest.
Yeah, what? I mean,
What
come
are you-
on.
And then the actress
Slowly.
climbs up there, and I'm like, why would they let the actress climb on that rickety ass
It almost
contraption?
tipped over, and at one point
Yeah.
I thought she almost.
Once again, I
fell.
do
And
not
then she
think they
jumped
were
out of the
super
window.
concerned about onset safety in this time period.
Nope.
No.
But again, then the brutalness of then her, jumping it. You didn't expect it. It's like,
No.
she's going to get stabbed or something. Which
Yeah.
what she
She
did.
did.
She did.
She tried
I
to
can't
escape.
remember
She tried
that-
to escape the room with
Yeah.
the razor wire, and she immediately got stabbed.
Well, she didn't get stabbed. Her throat was slit.
That's
hand-
right.
did.
A
He's
He
hand gently reached out and covered her mouth. She immediately stopped screaming, and then another hand slowly
That's
Was
slit
that her
what it
throat?
was. Yeah.
It looked
Murder
like
hand, yeah.
a stomach or something.
No, it was definitely a
No,
throat
it's a
slit.
Okay.
Yeah.
Because then
Yeah.
when later on, we also see the
Yeah.
throat
Yeah.
Yeah.
slice later.
That scene was cool. By the
But
way.
again,
was
back to
real
that.
That was
yeah.
that was
Roll dope.
yeah. That was
Love this fucking
terrifying.
movie, guys.
Yes.
Yeah, me too.
Yes.
Oh,
Well,
dear.
we didn't get. Okay, so Hillary, just
Sorry,
take a second to
spoiler.
tell us how you felt about the movie, because we all talked about whether we liked it or
Well,
not.
What was your experience before seeing the movie?
I had heard this from a lot of people that like they really liked it, and like I knew it was like one of my friend's favorite horror movies, but like I hadn't seen it. I just knew it was like a ballet school, and it was like about witches or vampires or something, and like I never really knew which. And then I found out yesterday that I was going to be able to make it here to the podcast.
Yay.
So I left set, immediately went home and watched it, and that was the fucking best thing I've ever seen in my life. It was fucking amazing.
I loved it.
I wish I'd had subtitles. That was my one complaint. Was the free streaming service didn't have subtitles for me because I am
But did
a
you
grandma.
Because you like
watch it
to
with-
watch. She likes to watch
I
with the
like to watch
subtitles
with
on, even in
subtitles.
English. Yeah, I
even
forgot
in
about
English,
that.
I watch with subtitles.
So you
on.
don't miss something.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. I like subtitles. Anyway, but yeah, it was amazing.
Awesome.
This was a fucking great movie. It was incredible. I thought it was beautiful.
Yeah, the lighting is insane.
Just like I could talk for like hours about the like cinematography and the triangles and the red and like the blocking and the staging and the like really gorgeous, just masterful filmmaking. It was really beautiful. Yeah.
Awesome.
really liked
yeah.
it.
We all liked it. We've been making fun of some elements of that a little bit,
there's
but
so much to make fun
but yes,
of.
overall, I
This
think
was
it's a really
right for
it's a
comedy.
masterpiece and surprisingly brutal.
Gorgeous and brutal and wonderful, and I was
yeah.
never bored. Well,
No.
I was frequently bored with the long hallway walks.
The hallways
Just-
were
oh, God, I felt
interminable.
like I was in
honestly.
that
I
cab
feel like
with
the
her in the
weakest
beginning,
scene
you know?
is the exposition dump at with the psychologist.
Yeah.
Where
yeah.
they're just like, let's
tuned out
explain
on that one a little bit, I won't
witchcraft
lie.
to you. Hang
Which-
on,
yeah.
there's a division of psychology specifically devoted to witchcraft.
Is there?
No,
That's what they said in the movie.
there isn't.
And
The
they brought
adult.
they
The
brought
adult.
they brought Combe over to explain the whole thing
Because he was a friend of
from a very low angle.
A very low angle.
right
At
because
that point, she was just lying in his lap.
Tell me about all
God.
the witches.
but was this also the friend Sarah's friend? Because she had said that.
Well,
there
Sarah
was,
dies in
but-
wire, and then she calls up the psychologist, the friend of
That's
Sarah's.
what it was.
Yeah.
And that's how she.
She's
how
like,
we went to
hey, I don't know where my friend is,
because
but
they tell her the next day. They're like, oh, she left. She packed her
jetted.
bags and
Yeah, she
left.
just packed her bags and left. How weird.
And
Like a thief in the night, I think they said.
Yeah, and
Actually,
Susie's
Let me
like,
pull up.
thinks about it, and she's like, why would she leave so soon after she had told me these things?
yeah, Susie's not having it. Again,
yeah.
I think that Susie is pretty, although she doesn't do a lot, I think she's a pretty good protagonist. She's smart. She does go out and try to seek some more information. She doesn't take any shit. She does some pretty brave shit at the end, to be honest.
Yeah.
But yeah, so she calls up the friend of Sarah, who I guess was seeing a psychologist, and he's at some kind of psychology convention, and they have a very long and boring expositional scene all about the history of the school, which is
Right. The history of the school is very ties in at the end because he talks about how the person who founded the school, her name was, oh my God,
Helena.
Helena blah, blah,
Bonham
blah.
Carter.
No.
No?
No.
Okay.
I don't
I
think
thought I could have
so.
sworn. You sure?
But she,
Might have been.
it was a creepy ass last name. I forget what it was. But she founded the school and was like a witch and like turned it into like this dark place. And she died in a fire.
Mysterious fire.
Mysterious fire.
That's how I want
And-
to die.
Yeah. So we're like,
Do you?
Mysterious
That
fire.
sounds terrible.
we're like,
No,
okay,
but
so
I
they
want to like actually be in a bed somewhere, just snoring my fucking ass off.
No. Mm-mm. I don't like it.
Everyone
Yeah,
thinks
so-
I died mysteriously in a fire. I'm just like taking a long ass nap.
But so we're like, okay, she's dead, and the new people have like upheld her traditions and stuff.
Well, they reopened the school
Right.
only as a dance school minus the witchcraft, supposedly.
And see, that brings in another one of the questions that I had, not to cut anything off, but bringing in how some of the students, it's like, oh, it's a dance school for them. You know, I kept trying to figure out, I'm like, oh, does she need, like, what is it about Susie and Sarah? Does she need life force from like young people?
I know, I couldn't figure that out.
Because I'm
Yeah.
like, is there any coincidence, or like Dan said when he was watching, he goes, does it need to be a dance studio? Like, is it a front? He's like, could it be a dry cleaner?
Could it
Does
be a
it-
dry cleaner?
you know,
and they're
is
like,
there-
she just
is-
takes her life force from people's stained clothing.
There you go, you know.
I
But it was
part
like,
of it,
it's
though,
like,
is-
but that's my thing was, I was like, was there any connection, or was it like, oh, it's
Young
witchcraft
people.
is here?
I mean, like
but-
what they said is they can change people's minds, but only to harm. But like what I kind of got out of it was like that they do all of these things to gain power and wealth, and that's how they got the school and all of that crap. You know, it was like by killing all these people, and somehow like a karmic balance.
But
I don't
it seems
know.
like the only people that they killed were people that were getting close to figuring out
Yeah.
their secret.
I don't.
Yeah.
It doesn't seem
And
like
it's
they
like-
leveraged the young late. Like, were they bringing them into their coven? Because they did talk about a
I
coven, and
know.
how he said how Comover says that the coven is like a snake, and
'Cause,
if
like-
you cut off the head,
Right, because was
then they lose their
Olga part
power.
of the coven too? Like
I
from
know.
the beginning, like because
That's why I
Olga was
wanted
a shady character, you know.
I wanted
like,
Olga to come back.
I know.
We talked about this, but yeah, we were very upset
Sorry.
that no, it's fine. We
miss
didn't.
Olga talk.
We generally wanted her. We wanted to know more about her. We feel like her story didn't really.
Yeah,
Get
plus her
covered.
magnificent hair.
She had like and this sort of like flapper look she had going
Yes.
on.
I mean, it was
1920,
amazing.
it's like,
Yeah.
oh.
And her apartment was like very like weirdly Egyptian, and I loved it.
Yeah.
That wallpaper for days. God, I loved it.
Well, you know, and then you did talk about the next day when the room was open, and they're like, oh, you know, she brought all of her stuff back. And did she really, or did they go and get it and tell Olga, oh, she's staying at the school, she decided to stay?
Yeah.
Because what Susie Cream Cheese
Olga-
thinks, you know, she's kind of
yeah.
like, wow, she couldn't wait to get rid of me. She
But
brought my
also,
stuff.
Olga's like the only one. See, this is why I want to know more about Olga. She's like the
Yeah.
only one who's
Good
allowed
enough.
to stay off campus.
Right.
Why is that?
yeah.
They only had the act. They were like, we can only afford her for one day. She's only going to be in this one scene.
She's going to give you a little exposition, and then that's it.
Yeah. So
But that was my question on
Yeah.
that, was like, if it was a, you know, it's both. They do teach, but they've got this dark underside. Or
Yeah.
are these students?
But they don't.
do
They
are
said
they-
we don't teach dance.
that's true. They did. They
They
said
just harass you.
we just want to see you do it. We're not
Yeah.
actually going to help you learn.
Well, it's
It's
because
okay.
they
don't
assume you can already do
don't
it.
be afraid to
No.
eat that
Okay,
biltong.
good. Are you hearing it anyway?
I mean,
Even
you're
when
gonna
I'm trying to
you
be
have to,
quiet?
you have to have some Kreigel while you're here.
Oh.
Sarah brought some
I'm definitely going to.
Kreigel.
Can't stop looking at it.
It's good.
It's
a
a pumpkin krangle.
Pumpkin
It's
Kreigel.
it's like a bear claw.
Oh, nice.
Well, it's like flaky pastry. My grandma used to bring this home from Entenmann's, the Entenmann's box. We're getting some fall time
Okay.
treats. Some fall time treats, you
Yeah.
guys.
I themed the wine on the fall time.
I know. I like the beautiful
Yeah.
thing. Are those leaves, flowers? So after she visits the psychologist, she comes back. She's discovered that the whole school has gone to some special performance, which she missed because
she missed it.
she
She was like,
missed
"Why
it.
didn't you tell me?" And they were like, "You were sleeping," or I forget why.
I think they just forgot she was there. I'm not really. You don't think so? You think
I don't know.
they
that
were
was
going to
like when they were
sacrifice
going to
her?
kill her.
I think
they
they
were
were
going to kill her
gonna-
that
yeah.
night.
You're.
I think
Because
they
remember,
sent
she
them
like
all
went down,
off.
and they were like, she like drank." Okay, we're getting ahead of ourselves, but
They are sloppy as fuck.
Yes.
These witches are not attentive to detail.
No.
No.
So she gets home. She finds out everybody's gone to see Hamilton or something.
Yes, it was the opening of Hamilton, I believe.
in
That's what they
Germany,
said.
In Germany.
The German
Where it
Hamilton.
originated, the original cast in Germany.
in
Workshop
1977.
production.
So that's the night she throws the food away. She decides she's not going to eat the
She
food.
tosses that horrific mess
That
in the
NyQuil.
toilet.
Gross. She puts the NyQuil in the sink.
Smears the NyQuil all over the sink.
You know, why didn't she just flush it? I don't understand why she didn't flush it. She flushed everything else. And then in
Look how
this,
angry you are about that.
no,
you're very
I was
passionate.
passionate
into
that was
because
a
Oh, yeah.
beautiful
I was
mint-colored sink that she ruined.
because I was like,
It was.
come on, you know, you're
This is
throwing the
Italian
food,
marble,
You're
you guys.
throwing the food in there,
know.
and then she just kind of like, you know, she didn't pour it slow. Like,
No,
she
she
just
just
chunks it all in
tossed
there,
it
and
in
then
there.
it's kind of like, oops, I made a
Un-
mess. I'll
in
I
her
would
smear
be
it
defense.
okay with
leave.
it if she like threw it and didn't clean it at all, or threw it and completely cleaned it. But why only half-ass it?
I know. It's bullshit.
I'm like, someone's going to clean this and see that you didn't do it, and I guess they, you know, were tending not to
I
have
don't
her
know.
around the next day.
Maybe they'll just think that she hemorrhaged again because it looked like fucking blood.
It did.
It looked like
did.
the
It
same
looked-
thought
blood
it
they use
was.
as blood.
It
I
looks
know.
more. It actually looked more like blood than the blood that was used in this movie.
It did.
Because the blood in this movie was paint.
Yeah.
But I thought that's what they were making her drink for whatever reason.
I think it
because
was
then they were
supposed to
gonna
be
sacrifice
wine.
her.
I
I
don't
think it was
know.
probably supposed to be wine, but they were
Spiked
like,
with something.
The doctor did
Picking it up.
prescribe her wine.
Did he?
Yeah, I took very high, like I took notes on that.
Oh my god.
The doctor was like, "Oh yes, just to get you back strong enough, it's 1 glass of wine with every meal." And I was like,
How did I miss
it's
that?
good for your.
what I
It
want.
builds
He
up
did
your
say
blood,
that, didn't he?
Yeah.
It builds up your blood.
"It does." That's
Yeah.
exactly what he said. Was
I
it
think
builds up
that's
your
what
blood.
you need. You need a prescription for
I am
wine.
busy building up my blood, guys. I don't have enough.
So she hears the footsteps again and then she thinks about the note and she's like, because she's been on drugs this whole time, she is like slowly putting everything together.
Well, a bat attacks her first in the
Oh,
bathroom.
the bat.
Right, the bat.
The bat upset Sarah so much.
The bat was so upsetting.
Because they're basically like flying puppies.
I know.
It was
So
just
cute.
flopping
Yeah.
around, and
I
she
know.
smushed it.
They're the dogs.
She
of the
smushed it like a
sky.
cockroach.
I know.
No,
Oh,
she-
that chair.
She smashed
beat
the
to
hell
death.
out of it.
It
Jeez.
did
It
attack
did
her,
attack her.
though.
It
It did
did.
attack
But
her.
it's just an animal.
I know, but was it murder hands in bat form?
I know. I
I'm
think
just
it was
saying.
murder hands in bat form.
Like it was trying to get her.
Murder bat.
Murder bat. It was a murder bat, I think.
I mean, those were the same creepy yellow eyes that we saw right before that killed the
true.
first lady,
That's true.
Pam.
Yeah.
yeah.
Before
Was it
Pam
Pam?
died. What was her
Oh,
name?
right.
We don't know. It
I
could
think
be
it was
Pam.
Pam.
It could be Pam.
Pam is a stupid name. I'm sorry
Isn't
to
it?
anyone who is Pam.
Don't we
My-
know a Pam?
I had
Oh,
an
right, we
auntie
do know a
We
Pam.
know a Pam.
I'm sorry, Pam.
Not anymore.
Sorry, Pam. We like you though.
I've
We
liked,
love- we
I,
love you,
I've
Pam.
liked
Love you,
all
Pam.
of the Pams that I've met, but I wouldn't like name my child Pam. But
What about Pamela?
Pamela, I don't hate.
Okay. Fair enough.
Okay. Now that we've settled
Now
that,
that we've insulted all of the Pams that listen to our podcast. So she
Pam.
starts. Pam's not. Pam's dead.
Pam's long
Pam died.
gone.
Pam's gone.
Pam took the long swing on the rope at the beginning of the movie.
and had her heart carved out.
Was it carved? I think they
No, it was
just
just
stabbed
smushed.
it.
Well, I don't know.
physically
He
ripped it
stabbed a
open.
bunch of times to get there, though.
Yeah.
And then just
Just
a couple,
opened her chest right
couple
up.
slow,
Yeah.
deliberate
Yes.
stabs to
Yeah.
the heart.
I actually looked away. Like we talked about
I
this earlier, but
didn't. I
I
watched
looked
the whole
away.
thing.
It was like I was like, this is a lot. I
loved
also
every
looked
second
away
of it.
during the part where the dog ate the guy's throat.
Oh, that made me sad. It
So
was obviously a puppet.
So the bat.
the bat. Well, she kills the bat, smushes
does.
the shit out of that bat,
Crushes
like
the
just
fuck out of it.
blood-stained towel, and then she starts counting the footsteps. Right?
Yes.
She
And
starts to think about she's like, oh, they're going to the right, and she starts counting them, and then walks down the hall.
Yeah, she does. She follows them down the hall for the longest hallway scene of my
How
life.
many
I
footsteps
counted-
did
there
they
were-
count?
I don't know, but I will
There were
say
20, I think,
She
because
zigged
I
and
remember.
zagged.
it was 20 and then 11
Yeah.
and then 5 and then 15.
But how could
It
you
was like-
tell that from the room that I just don't understand?
Superhearing.
I don't know.
know.
I don't understand the geography of this place.
I don't know. But I
Supernatural.
literally
It is
wrote down
not
twice
well
in a row.
insulated
She
at
fucking
all.
follows them.
Yeah.
If you can hear people
Such a long scene.
from where some of them are stepping. But I was actually counting at some point because
Yeah.
it was so long, and then I was like, 18, 19, 20, that's the door. And that led into the vice president. We don't have a name
Like
for
her
her. We have a
office.
name
Oh,
for
the
her.
office with all the murals.
Yeah,
and the,
the
children.
weirdly trippy office that we've seen before, but
Yeah.
then this time it was like the walls moved or some shit.
Well,
during the
they
scene. It was,
had like
wild.
paintings on there, and then that's when she
And then
recalls.
she remembers what Pam said.
Yeah.
Yes.
Are we sure her name's Pam?
I think it's Pam.
We're just gonna call her Pam.
Call her Pam.
It's Pam
Um,
now.
it's
The
Pam.
secret and the lilac.
She says the secret
The
room.
secret I saw behind the door, 3 irises
Yes.
turn the blue one.
Oh, somebody wrote this down.
Yes, I did.
there we
Thank
go.
you, Hillary.
Thank you for
Thank
writing
you.
that down.
And so we should say, and that's Pam. That's what Susie Cream Cheese heard Pam
On the
saying
first
before
night.
she
But
ran
Pam
out.
Which
was
she
supposed
somehow
to be
forgot.
hollering at Sarah,
And Pam was
Sarah
talking to
didn't
Sarah.
remember it.
Yeah,
But I was
Yeah.
like, Sarah,
Sarah?
you were right fucking there at the door.
I'm gonna be
right
real.
there to tell Susie Mayonnaise or whatever the fuck her name is not to come in. She knew.
Sarah is an inefficient sidekick in this movie.
Inefficient.
Sarah really
She's not
is.
super. They like the. She's kind of maybe the. She might be the dumbest person.
She's one of the if this was video games, you know, the AI character that goes with you that just screws up your entire mission because they don't
Yes.
catch up with you and
Yes.
they have
Like,
and they're like, come on, you're not helping me at all. All she does is just get her into
It's true.
trouble.
Like it seems like they could have solved this the first day that Susie arrived.
Yeah.
probably. Anyway, so she
How
turns the
long
iris.
has Susie been there, by the way?
I can't
How long
tell.
is this
It feels like less
timeline?
than a week.
It's
Maybe
a week. It's less than a week.
right?
Yeah, it's
Like
less than a
3
week.
days,
I think
3
it's
or
been
4
like a week or
days.
well, I don't know.
Right?
She had a bunch of
No.
those meals too. Like
Yeah.
we saw a bunch of the meals come in, so I'd say like at least a month probably.
A
I feel
month?
like
Really?
I think
Maybe
it's
a
supposed
few
to have
weeks.
been there for a while.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I thought at least
No, because
only
I
a
think
week.
she had like gotten tired of the meals and like he told her that she needed to be on them for a while and stuff. So like
Well,
I
they
got
said
the
they were
feeling that it was supposed to have
They
been
said
a
2
long
weeks.
time.
She had to
Maybe
be on
like
the
2
diet for
weeks.
2 weeks, I think.
Okay, then maybe it was at the end of week
Maybe.
one, week
Maybe.
two. I don't
maybe.
know.
Who knows? Time
Who
is
knows?
uncertain in this movie.
It really is.
Well, she
so
turns-
are lengths of hallways.
Yes, the longest hallways
Well,
I've
that's
ever
the thing.
seen.
She turns the iris and opens this door, and then there's a blue curtain. And I was so excited. I was like, "What the fuck's behind the blue curtain?"
Mm-hmm.
It's a fucking hallway. There's another fucking
This one is like a
hallway
nice
there.
Art Deco hallway with all
has-
kinds of witchy
And
writing.
it has
on
words
the
in it,
walls.
and then
Yeah,
she
there was
passes,
Hebrew in
and there
there,
was like
though,
a
to be
cultum.
fair.
There was one place where it was like occultum, and I was like,
Yes.
"Ooh, can you turn around and read that word so you know what's going on?" Like,
Yeah, maybe if she'd read, maybe the hallway says this is where we do witchy shit.
Yeah.
Right this
in
way.
Latin.
Follow this hallway to all the witches.
Which is this way.
This part reminded me of Rosemary's Baby. How
Wow.
Yeah,
Rosemary's
totally
Baby, the
agree.
whole thing was like you're being like gaslit, and you're like something's going on, and at the end it's like, oh, we're a coven, and we're satanic, and like we're gonna
Yes.
kill you.
I feel like witches get a bad rap in movies, you guys. I'm just
know.
saying. They
Not
get
in practical magic.
You're right. That's true. That's true. It's one of the good ones.
Or Sabrina the Teenage Witch.
Which there's a new one coming out on
No,
Netflix.
it's actually
The dark
follows
version.
the comic book, the darker Sabrina.
The
Okay.
people who did
Okay.
Riverdale, right?
Yeah.
Same thing.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, it's much darker. It looks like.
Yeah. Well, apparently it follows the original comic books, which were like she was like an anti-hero kind of. Yeah.
Interesting. Didn't know anything about that.
She's probably she's just Veronica from Archie Comics. She decided she was done with them and turned
Good,
turned
finally.
back, you know.
And now she's like, I like candles now.
I'm into crystals.
I have a crystal.
So she goes down the hall. It's not nice witches that she sees. It's not the astrology, tarot reading, cleanse your space kind of witches.
It is the wine drinking, the blood wine drink. I don't know. I don't know what they're drinking. Blood.
Well,
What were
Probably
they,
drinking
and
blood,
eating,
right?
and she was like eating little crumpets, little sandwiches.
Do
little
all
cucumber
evil witches
sandwiches.
leave the door slightly ajar?
Yeah.
It
when
wasn't
they're doing
slightly.
their
It
evil
was
spells?
fully
open
ajar.
with what's his name?
Was it a
The
door or was it a
butler and-
curtain?
It was a door.
Yeah.
The door.
There was a
Okay.
door, like clearly
It
And
was
we
a
open.
door,
saw
and then-
all the guys,
Yeah.
all like Little Boy Blue,
The little boy blue was there.
Dracula. What is his
Is that
name?
what we're
Who's the-
calling
Igor.
him? I called him
Igor.
Tiny
Igor.
Voldemort.
Oh, yeah, that's a good one.
Tiny Voldemort. He was terrifying. What the
But
fuck was
also,
wrong with
like,
him?
we never knew anything about him. He was just there to be weird.
I know.
We
Just
didn't
a
get
weird,
any.
there to be
scary
weird
child.
and scare animals, apparently.
Yeah.
And the
And
head,
sh-
the
Frau was there. The
Frau,
head
the head person.
head lady. With the pearls was there.
Pearls.
That's who I call. I like to call
This
think
is
of her as
Pearls.
pearls. Pearls was there.
Yeah.
Igor was there. Was David the handyman there?
I feel like he was.
Was
Yeah, David the
he?
handyman
he
was
in
there, I
Okay.
think.
So
Yeah.
that's what happened. I
Yeah.
couldn't remember.
He looks like he could have a good career in miming.
Yeah.
I feel like he's got the body for it.
Yeah, he does.
That was the kid who flirted with her at first,
Yeah,
right?
Yeah.
right across the hall.
Okay.
And
Yeah.
So, and then she walks in just as Pearls is screaming, kill her tonight. I
Yeah.
want her dead.
Sickness.
Sickness.
Yeah.
Make her sick.
Yeah.
Yeah. And Susie's like, I gotta get
And then
the
she,
fuck
like,
out
every
of here.
spell
She
I've
backs
ever
herself
heard.
against the wall.
yeah,
and
she's hidden
then-
behind a curtain or something.
Is she, like, how did Sarah get there? I was so confused.
Well,
in
she
this
bumps
next
into a
part.
court. Well, so Igor comes out. And like
Okay.
they planted the seed early in the movie where they said that Igor really wanted Sarah's lighter, and you see him
Oh,
using
yeah.
the lighter to illuminate the hallway as he walks down it, and then she kind of backs herself into another corridor where she stumbles into Sarah on a table,
Yes.
just like fucking nailed to the table, like with
Yeah.
giant nails through her limbs.
Yes. Yes.
Yeah,
And her throat has been slit and her eyes are wide open.
yeah.
Yeah.
It was very
horrible.
scary.
Yeah,
Yeah.
and so
she's like, "Ah!"
understandably upset about that.
And kind of like
Yeah.
scoots away
I'd
down
be.
into
Just a little.
another door. And this is the room of the directress.
Okay, that room, I want that decor.
Right.
for
that
my own-
fancy peacock.
Oh my
Nice.
god,
Oh,
that
those
was-
like purple.
wow.
They were like purple walls and like.
Yes.
That room was so scary to me.
Man, I was like
Sleeping
I want,
behind a curtain. Ooh.
Yes,
That peacock felt so out of place, though. It was like one of those
Art
like
Deco.
LED like
Yeah.
lit peacocks with
I
like
think
the.
it was. I think it was a choice though to light it the way it was lit. Like I think that was a choice.
I was like,
expected
this
there to be
peacock is
more
important. Yeah.
witchy artifacts in there.
I
though.
did
Yeah.
too.
Like there should have been a salt lamp.
yeah, something
feel
like a
like-
Himalayan
What is a
salt
salt
lamp
lamp?
in the corner. Yeah,
It's a thing which
maybe a
people
crystal
like.
grid.
a crystal
somewhere.
grid. Some Palo Santo.
Yeah,
in the
just
corner.
burning in the corner lightly.
So we hear the snoring, the wheezing,
Yes,
and then we hear like
Voice-
Susie's like, this is the directress. This is
Yes,
she's right
because
here.
she's
cut,
going-
cut off the head of the snake. Does she even say
no,
that, or was
that's
that
just
you?
something we're thinking about. Yeah, I
Yeah.
think we're like, oh, if she kills her, then that's it, because this is the head of
Right.
the snake here.
And
then,
she knocks the
peacock
peacock.
over.
Yes,
Yes.
and
It
then
makes the
director
sound.
sits up and she's got like the burned, charred face.
Well,
Yes.
we don't see her face at first. She
She
runs
like
and opens.
it was kind of scary
the
when she just
curtain.
like sat up like that in the in
Yeah.
the
Yeah.
silhouette.
Yeah. But when she opens the curtain, there's no one there, and then all of a sudden the
She's
director's
holding a peacock thing.
Yeah,
like
the-
a little,
Like a
little
dagger or
dagger,
something.
dagger,
Yeah.
from
and
the
then
peacock
like
thing.
her voice, the director's voice was so scary, and then she's like, "Behind that door is hell," or like something like that, and then like the door comes open, and you see these little these little fingers kind of
Yeah.
creep around, and then all of a sudden it springs open, and it's Sarah.
zombie
It's
Sarah.
like
Zombie
like
Sarah.
blood
With the-
coming out of her eye.
With a
Spikes
knife.
out of her
It was
eyes
so,
and
and
stuff.
she's
So great.
laughing.
She's laughing. She's
it was
like,
so cool.
it was
you guys.
so
scary.
So
It was
fucking
so
cool.
great.
Listeners, if you have not seen this movie, fucking watch
Just
it.
It's so
stop
great.
listening
So
to this now and
good.
go
Just
watch
watch
it.
it.
Crazy,
So fucking
insane. You should. It's October. Fucking watch Suspiria right now.
spelled Suspiria.
Yes.
Just so you know, it's not ERIA. Yeah.
So then she's, and this I didn't get either. Then at the end, so she doesn't.
I have a question as to how she managed to kill this old ass ghost.
Because we see the outline.
Well,
we see
but there
that,
was lightning.
but I'm sorry.
But I don't know where the lightning came from.
Pam took 30 stabs straight to the heart and a noose before that bitch died. And this old ass ghost takes one peacock tine to the heart and dies.
Well, I think it was
To
a
the neck.
peacock to the
neck?
throat.
Oh, okay. But
Straight
still,
through. Well, also, she's pretty old. Right?
she was called the Black Queen.
Yeah.
I'm sorry. She doesn't have a Horcrux hidden
Yeah,
somewhere?
yeah.
That's a good point.
That's
Maybe
hard
she
to
does.
That's what I was
believe.
thinking. I was like,
Maybe
that was
she
too
does.
hard to too easy
It actually
to
was
kill her.
frankly
It was too easy
it was
to kill
frankly
her.
disappointing. Yes.
But I think why is because they kept her so hidden and so safe. And I
That's
feel
maybe
like
she was
they-
very fragile.
Yeah.
I do think it was hard for her to find her. Like, I mean, if all these people hadn't laid the groundwork for her to find her, she would have never
Yeah.
found her
Yes.
or
Yeah.
known how to look.
Yeah.
And if she
But-
hadn't like
We had to go through like
kept her
14
head-
doors to get there. And
and if she hadn't
12
kept her
hallways.
head at that Sarah who was coming at her to be like, she's got like, it would never have occurred to me that she was still there. But then the little outline
yeah.
showed
Well,
up.
that was first though. When she pulled the sheet back and you saw the mattress, there was the big divot.
Yeah.
I guess where
Yeah.
my first thing would have been like, oh, she's still sleeping in there. I'm just going to start stabbing this divot
Yeah.
area.
Yeah.
But maybe I was like, well, I guess she's been sleeping there for how many years now? But then that
Well,
brings
I
in
think
back
they're
the
just
maggots
barely
again.
keeping her alive just to keep the coven going, I think is the implication, right?
guess.
Like
Yeah.
if they, yeah.
If she's alive, I guess
they
that
lose
is,
all
I guess
their
that is
power.
a downfall. What do you do if your
Well, it
leader
seems like
becomes
maybe
now
you need
frail?
to
Now
have-
you have to keep them
well,
alive.
it seems
or
like
else your
maybe you
whole
need to
thing-
have some kind of election.
Yeah, it seems
know?
like it's time.
Well, when she stabs her and she starts to die, then all the rest of them start to have blood pouring down their faces, and they're
Well,
like,
if they just had a bland diet and a glass of wine with every meal.
Right, they
It'd
would
be
be
fine in 2 weeks.
Well, the students are in trouble when they come back from Hamilton, though.
They are going to be
What
so
the fuck?
bummed.
Well, the place starts to burn down.
it doesn't. Susie does not run fast enough to get out of
that
those
was
14
that was
doors.
the only other thing at the very end. She just then kind of just nonchalantly
She's
seems
like,
to walk off.
I
like,
guess
oh,
I'll
I just
enjoy this
survived
moment.
I'm
explode.
just
Like
gonna-
everything starts to like blow
Yeah.
up.
I'm just
well,
gonna
she
leave
kind of
now.
laughs a little bit to herself as she's walking
Yeah.
away at the end, almost like well, that was a crazy night.
Yeah,
Yeah.
Well, like I'm like, don't start laughing yet, because like you.
I
but
know.
it just
ends.
But you,
I
it just
just
ends.
They were like,
abruptly.
you have been watching Suspiria, and I'm like,
What? That was it?
what?
But
That's how it.
Typically in films, if a character starts to laugh at the end, I'm like, oh no,
I
that's
know.
not over.
Well,
There's
you
still
know
they're
what?
gonna
Flaming
die.
witch is going to come
Okay, well,
flying
you know,
out of the
it
window
reminded
or
me a
whatever.
bit.
That's what
it
I
reminded me a
expected.
bit of the ending of Texas Chainsaw Massacre, where when she gets, spoiler alert for Texas Chainsaw Massacre, the 1970s film, when she gets away from the family and escapes into a back of a pickup truck, she starts laughing hysterically.
And then she gets killed, right?
No,
No?
it's
that's
just
the
that's
end of
the
the
that
movie,
the end of
yeah.
the movie is her laughing hysterically, covered in blood because she's escaped this near death experience, this horrific experience, and she's just so overwhelmed with trauma that she starts laughing.
Yeah.
And that's the end of the film. And so it wasn't quite like that, but it did
Yeah.
remind me a bit of that moment.
Maybe that's what some of it is with Sarah Cream Cheese's character, is that
Yeah.
there is no development with her. Like immediately, it's
She's
like she-
very stone-faced
She immediately
most of
comes
the
in.
time.
You learn a little bit about her headstrongness. What's the word I'm thinking of?
Yeah.
But then they don't really give her any other development. Then immediately it's like, okay, we're just gonna you're hemorrhaging now because you had this image happen to you, and now we're just gonna drug you the rest of the time. Then all of a sudden she's like, oh, I know what's going on. I've killed the witch, and
So
now
what-
I've win. And it's like, you didn't develop her enough to really.
What is the timeline for? Because I remember, like, the first day she's there, after she hears about, what happened to Pam, and then she's like, you know what? She tells the head person, the headmistress, Pearls. She tells Pearls basically, like, I remember these two words that Pam said, like, secret and iris, and Pearls is like, very interesting. I will note that. And do you think that it was that point when they were like, we've got to get rid of her, or we got to drug her or something?
It seemed like they had it out for her from the beginning because
Okay.
she seemed like a troublemaker from the start.
But it was after that they decided to kill her. It
Yes.
was like directly after that.
Yeah.
But
Okay.
also,
Also,
what
she
I
like
found
left
really,
for the whole day. I'm sure they noticed her absence. You would think.
Well, what I found really interesting in that scene too was that she's like, okay, oh yes, well, let's call the police. And she was like, and I'm sure they'll find it really interesting that you waited 2 days to tell me this. And like immediately put the blame back on her.
Yeah.
And like I found that really interesting, like just the way they constantly like change it around, like, you know, Sarah's a thief in the night because she left in the middle of the night, and like Pam was a troubled girl who left and was expelled for indecent conduct. And you know, it's like all of these things that they constantly like push the blame on everybody else, like they are completely faultless and everything. It was really interesting to me.
Yeah. Final thoughts on Suspiria.
I want to
I'd
decorate
watch-
my whole house in triangles.
Oh man, I would watch this movie every fucking year. I would watch it every year. I really would.
Yeah, definitely like a Halloween, or you know, this time of year, if you're gonna watch Halloween, something else now, I would add that to my list. I'm like, I'm gonna watch Halloween and Friday the 13th and
this-
Suspiria.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And yes, triangles. Fucking
All the fucking triangles.
All the triangles.
All over. They were blocked in triangles. They were standing in triangles. They talked in triangles.
Triangles frightened.
There were triangles in the back. All the lamps were triangles.
from
Like, it
now
was
on,
fucking nuts.
all your films are being blocked in triangles.
They're all going to be triangles.
I would like to have velvet walls. I would like to have some blue crushed velvet walls.
Yes, that would be nice. I bet your kids wouldn't get those messy at all.
No, they wouldn't. Well, the thing is, you got to vacuum those walls at least twice a week.
Yes.
That's the problem with those.
Actually, that sounds not bad. Like, just like vacuum the whole house out.
Just a wall that.
The only other question I have, going back to just the color scheme, cinematography, you know, we kind of have an idea of at least the main colors of the red and then blue, but green was also used,
Yeah,
and it was
light.
mostly used for
I was trying to figure that out.
pearls. Like she was
Yeah.
usually in a green dress. Her office was of course stark, but it had this green. You didn't see it too often.
Okay.
And I always wondered, you know, because there's obviously imagery happening with those colors, and that was the other prominent one. But I could never figure out
There was
if that
a
was
lot of
supposed
green
to,
light too.
Well, there was a lot
If
of
it
green
was
light right
supposed to-
before Sarah died.
Yeah.
you know, what
Yeah.
what his ideas for that were.
Don't
And
know.
she was the only one that ever really was in, like you said, your Nancy Reagan dresses and your
Oh,
and
yes.
your,
Oh,
and
yeah.
these-
Nancy Reagan
I don't know, pearls.
So that's definitely it.
Um,
Debutante wear.
and I just couldn't figure what that, you know, thinking about what green could represent. If it's,
No.
but no, I enjoyed it. I think I'm so glad that I watched it.
I loved it. There was mostly women in this movie. There were hardly any men at all.
I know.
The men didn't do anything really.
Yeah, no.
except, you
No.
know,
They
the-
like carried suitcases around.
pretty much.
That's about it.
Into it.
And trays
They're
of
good at that.
food.
I just want to know who Murder Hands is.
I think it's
Is
just.
it the?
I think
is
it's
it-
just the
is it
spirit of the coven, or
spirit?
maybe it's.
I couldn't
the
figure out
s-
if maybe
the
if it was the
directress?
witch. Did she turn herself
The
into something to
directress,
go
maybe?
after people? Was it
don't
Igor?
know.
I thought it was Igor.
I think maybe the directress, because those hands. Again, I want to go back to the hands in the first scene when they wrap around.
They were so hairy.
They were thin like a woman's hands.
Like
they
some
weren't
sort
like
of
I know,
men's
but there were
arms.
so many hairs on the arm.
because
She was like this evil. She was
Monster.
invoking the.
She'd become a
demon
monster.
in order
But
to
I
get
don't
out
think
of
she was
bed, but-
wandering around. I think she's too weak to go and kill
Is it like
pe-
Game of
people.
Thrones? She projects herself.
Oh,
Maybe.
it was projectile.
yeah,
no,
the
not
shadow that she
projectile.
birthed.
Yeah.
You know, or I thought, oh, it's Igor. He's the one that's.
Igor's
the
hands were
killing,
too
you know.
lumpy for that. Though,
Yeah.
I think.
I'll have nightmares of disembodied hairy arms killing me from now on.
But just because
need a
if they were waxed, it would
No,
be
if they were
better.
waxed and like silky and just like choking me a little bit lightly, like,
Yeah,
that'd be
okay, then
fine.
it's kind of then there's something kind of hot about that.
Yeah, right? It'd be fine.
Oh my god.
Okay, so listeners, if you haven't seen Suspiria, high recommendations all around. It's crazy. It's
Fucking
an
bananas.
experience. We loved it. So it's Halloween, motherfuckers. Check it out.
C D F F. What are you people? On dope?
Welcome to This is a Test. This is the part of the show where we see if this film holds up to our barrage of diversity testing. Barrage.
Scrutiny.
Starting with the Bechtel test. Does this film have more than one woman in it?
Indeed.
I don't know. Yeah.
I just got here. Do those characters have names?
Yes.
Yep.
Yes.
Do they talk to each other?
Yes.
Yes.
Do they talk about something other than a man?
Yes.
Okay, so
They
in
talk
fact,
about the dance.
quite early, like very first scene. Yeah. Well, when Pam and her buddy are talking about what's going on at the school, so that passes like right away.
Oh yes, V quick.
You're looking at me strangely, Brandon. The Bechdel test is
thank you.
is a test that has been used by feminist critics. It actually originated way back in a comic book. It was a story in a feminist comic book about a character who said she only goes to see movies that pass this test. And the name of the author of this comic book was Alison Bechdel. Okay. And the character was like, they have to have more than one woman in it. They have to speak to each other, and they have to talk about something other than a man. And a lot of movies don't pass that test.
Yeah.
Real.
Yeah.
You'd be
Really?
surprised.
We've
I
failed
think
a lot.
That's what it
You'd
was
be
when you were
surprised.
talking
We've failed
about
a lot.
when you were
Well-
talking those questions. I'm like, those are fairly obvious questions.
Well, but you'd
Hold
be
it up
shocked with
against
ones
some of
that
the movies.
don't
Yeah.
pass too. Like things like the Hunger Games don't pass because she never talks to another woman about anything other than a man. Even though there's tons of characters in that movie, and the story is not about her love relationship. She doesn't actually talk to another woman. It's like it's really wild. Like
Yeah.
when you actually break it down and like look through things.
Okay.
Yeah.
Wow, mind blown.
So we have several guests on the show who've invented other tests.
Yeah.
One of them, Jasmine Waters, invented the Blackdel test, which is this way to
Of course,
stack up the African American characters in the film. Does this film have more than one black character in it?
It has none.
It has none.
No.
Zero. Fail. Yeah, there's no black characters in this film at all.
Well, don't you know that they didn't invent black people until after the 1970s.
Okay.
black
Well,
people
that
in
makes
Germany,
sense. That makes sense.
I don't think they ever really came around until there was like funk music.
It's true. Yeah.
Or
Or they
was, like,
were
really in the 80s,
not-
like late
yeah.
70s, 80s, you know.
black people were born in the late
Yeah.
70s after this film was made.
But,
Right,
you
they were
know-
still children at this
Yeah.
point.
You know,
so.
but it was a horror movie, and as we know, most black people run away from horror movies because they all survive if they're smart.
Well, actually, a lot of times they get killed first.
Yeah,
Sadly.
first.
yeah.
Yeah.
they were killed before the first.
Oh, so
ever
what are the
they
other
just-
questions?
Those
I'm-
were that
I'm-
was the 8 minutes that was cut
Yes,
out.
That was the
Yeah.
8 minutes that was
Oh,
cut
yeah.
out
okay.
the top.
Okay.
Well, what are the other questions? For her
Okay,
test?
for the Blackdel
Yeah,
test.
for her
Okay, so
test.
the Blackdel test is there more than one black character in this film?
Okay,
Do they
no.
talk to each other, and do they talk about something other than a white person?
They have to have names too.
Yeah,
Yeah.
that's kind of a
They
Oh,
have to
subset.
have
Yeah,
names.
have name. Oh, okay.
and that we rarely pass anything
Yeah.
on the Blackdel test.
Yeah, it's
rare,
real rare.
very rare. A lot of them fail like this because there's no black people in the movie at all.
That's like the very
Like
first question.
I Tanya, no black people in that movie.
Yep.
Not a single one, except for like
In the
archival
background.
footage of OJ.
Yeah.
That was it.
Yeah.
Okay, and then lastly we have the Mojo test, which was created by Topher Payne. This is a test to see the age of the actresses in the film. So, is there a character over 50 in this movie?
Yes.
Yeah.
Is there
Oh,
more than
yes.
one?
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Do they talk to each other?
They do.
Yeah.
They do. Or do they have a life outside of the characters in are there
Outside
is there
of the young characters.
out of the
Yes,
young characters?
In fact, they are the plot.
They are the plot. So yeah, this film does pass the Mojo test. Yeah. All right. So that's a pass on the Bechdel, a no, a hard no on the Blackdel,
Blackdel test.
and a pass on the Mojo. Yeah.
Wow.
Now you got to hold up every movie you see to
Now
these
every
three
movie
tests.
that I see, I'm immediately going to sit there and then be like, oh, fail.
Yeah.
Oh, that one passed. Then. Interesting.
I think we've only ever had one pass all three, and that was A Wrinkle in Time.
Yeah. Yeah.
Really? Yeah.
Ava DuVernay's film.
A children's movie.
Yep.
Well, isn't that also the book that everyone?
Yes,
At least that
Madeline
I
L'Engle
always
wrote.
heard it. Every
Yes.
girl read in junior high, or even before then, the young readers. It was like that's all you ever heard was that.
Yeah.
That was the book to
Yeah.
read at the time. Wrinkle in Time, which I
Yeah.
never did.
Shame that movie
back in the
didn't get a little bit more support.
It really
from
should
the
have.
Hollywood machine.
I didn't like it, but I don't have children, and I'm not a child.
Well,
And it was not geared. It was not for
but also
me.
wasn't well. If you
You
want to
know?
know our opinion of A Wrinkle in Time, go back in
Go
time,
listen to that podcast.
listen to that episode. We gave extensive notes on it. I feel like it was judged unfairly, but you can go back and
I'm gonna go back and find.
listen
that
to
one
our
and listen
thoughts
to it.
on that. And that's our This Is a Test segment. Thanks for joining us for today's episode of the Feminine Mistake Podcast. You can see our special guest, Brandon Mitchell, in all the things. Don't miss him in the short horror film Feast, written and directed by our former Feminine Mistake Podcast guest, Melissa Lee. We had her back last October to talk about the film Poltergeist. And Brandon is in her new short film Feast. Feast is going to be playing in the Atlanta area at the Atlanta Horror Film Fest on Friday, October 26th, and at the return of the 50-Foot Film Fest on Tuesday, October 30th at the Plaza Theater. You can follow Feast on Facebook at Feast Short Film, and from there you can find tickets and more information about these upcoming events. You can also see Brandon in the upcoming Critical Crop Top live sketch show, Critical Crop Top Saves America. Critical Crop Top Saves America is going to be playing for one weekend only at the Highland Inn Ballroom this coming November 2nd and 4th. In addition to our lovely guest this month, Brandon Mitchell, Critical Crop Top Saves America also stars Carlette Jennings, Jasmine Waters, Laura Myers, Arya Mara, Brian Ashton Smith, and myself, and is directed by our co-host, Hillary R. Heath. Tickets will be available for $10 on our website. That's criticalcroptop.com/tickets. And that ticket link should be live next Monday. But in the meantime, you can follow Critical Crop Top on social media at Critical Crop Top on Twitter, Facebook, and Instagram for all the details. Thanks for joining us for today's episode. Come back next week for our Wildcard Lady Bits episode when we'll be tackling a topic on women in film and TV. You can follow us on Facebook and Instagram at Feminine Mistake Pod, and on Twitter at FemMistakePod. And if you've got a bad casting breakdown that really makes you cringe and you'd like us to read it on the show during our Nervous Breakdown segment, you can send that or any other correspondence to femininemistakepodcast@gmail.com.
Oh, didn't see you there. I'm Molly.
And I'm Jen.
And we're Rosemary's Ladies, a podcast where we eat snacks, drink adult beverages, and review movies, the good and the bad. Previous reviews include Deep Blue Sea, Poltergeist, Leprechaun, and 1998's Godzilla. You can tune in on iTunes, Spotify, and most popular podcast apps.
And for Pete's sake, be sure to follow us on Instagram, Facebook, Twitter, and check us out at rosemariesladies.com, where you can submit movies for us to review.